I've called the top on every top. So I called the end of April top 10 years ago. I called that. I called it about 3 days before the exact top. So anyone that says, well, you've been saying the same thing. Well, I said it would go up. I said it'd go up in real terms, and it has. Now, all markets go up and down. So to say, well, you're wrong, and they're only looking at one half the equation, then that'd be like saying, well, you're wrong about housing if you're bullish on housing, or you're wrong about stocks if you're bullish on stocks, because every market, even the bond market, goes up and down. So I would argue that, like anyone, I have my detractors, and so be it. But most of the detraction is based on a half truth, not on a full truth. As far as if I am wrong, 100% wrong, silver never gets above 30 in US fiat terms from here on out. What I teach is so absolutely imperative and significant, and I do it in a manner that's absolute, that anyone that actually listens to what I've said and written down could have no debate, because my allocation model insists for most people that you only devote 10% of your holdings to that as a hedge. So in other words, as I said earlier, I've been wrong so far, which agrees with, the comment as far as it going, in astronomical terms in fiat, which, my price target, by the way, is $100 an ounce, which, it's been halfway there a couple times, but it could go higher. I don't know. But I have made that statement in writing in like 2003. So it's not like I'm saying 1,000, but regardless. So the idea is that 10% allocation will protect you from an absolute, total, complete financial collapse. And 90% could go into whatever else you want to go complain about on another message board. Real estate, stocks, cryptocurrencies, private businesses, private equity, master limited partnerships, options and futures, you name it. There's a big casino out there for financial assets. And all I'm suggesting is that you have a hedge position, because of monetary failure does happen at the extent I see about every 400 years. And I truly believe, from all my work study and intuition, everything else, that I can determine from the past, projecting that somewhat in the future, suggests strongly that we're sitting at a point where there's a point of no return, and the currency is shunned. And unless another system comes into place to prevent that from happening, or intervenes as it's happening, we may see unbelievable spike highs in the precious metals. So if I'm wrong, you've got a 10% bet that will protect everything you own, like having fire insurance on your home. And if I'm right, you're going to be pretty happy that you had that position. So if you really have any kind of thoughtfulness whatsoever at all, you'll be able to determine that I'm not that big of a crackpot anyway, and what I've been saying, right or wrong, isn't going to hurt you. I don't think anyone that owns fire insurance on their home roots for having a fire come by and taking their home out so they could collect their insurance. The only difference between that metaphor or analogy and what I'm saying is, I think, and have for years, and been wrong, that we are facing that neighborhood fire that takes out all the houses. And if you don't have insurance, because, I don't think, I've been saying that and hasn't happened, and I'm not going to waste 10% of my money on something as silly as a monetary asset that's lasted for thousands of years, when every other fiat is burned to the ground. I don't accept that. Nothing will ever happen to the dollar. I'll stay with it. So maybe I did a bit of a rant, but I think taking things out of context does upset me. I have had a few people blame me for their mistakes. Again, one person was, basically the only person I ever blocked on Twitter. And he bought silver at $30, which we're basically above that now in the retail market. And it was all my fault. And, if you bought 10%, I don't think you would be having an issue. But if you put your life savings in at 30 and then blame me for it when I teach 10%, then you're not telling the truth. If you go back into history, and of course, I am the silver guru, and I put the guru in tongue in cheek. I certainly study the market, but I don't consider myself a guru. I just use that as a moniker. Back on point, there was a Silver Users Association, and that was developed years ago, and it was basically your Mitsubishi's, your Kodak at the time, because it was used in film, Tiffany's, so it was like jewelry, silverware, all the chemical outputs like DuPont, Dow Chemical, Kodak, as I mentioned, and they formed a kind of a union, you might call it. You can find a better word, perhaps. And the Silver Users Association basically interacted to make sure that they had a direct pipeline from the refining industry into their warehouse to use as they needed it. So in the case of an electronics manufacturing firm, it might be wire, fine wire, mesh, you name it. In the case of someone, in the minting industry, it would be, shot or whatever. It could be large bars. So it's direct. Now, the Silver Users Association has kind of disappeared. I don't know if they exist still or not. I believe that the relationships that were established for those entities still exist. But as the silver market has matured more to the monetary, it's gone strong in the industrial side. It's gone from 35% of the market in 2000 to 50% of the market in 2020. So the newcomers, let's say, the Apples or whatever, I would say Apple definitely has a direct line to the refiner. There's no middleman. There's no going to the COMEX. There's no going to, a bullion dealer. They go direct from a refiner to the warehouse to put in or have it made into the form they need it, for the iPhone or the flat screen TV or the membrane switch or whatever it is. However, as that electronics industry has grown, there've got to be, in my studied view, some that don't have that relationship. Our established clients are the ones we're going to be able to maintain our relationship with. And we really don't have enough excess for the demand that you're putting on us to guarantee delivery. Now, I don't want to make a super case out of one data point. I'm way too smart. I'm an engineer, and I know one data point doesn't mean much. It means something, but I don't want to overweight it for an Apple versus a Mitsubishi to go to the refiner and say, well, I'll pay you spot plus 5%. No, I'll pay you spot plus 10%. We can't shut down our factory floor.